Continue now at the top of Daf Gimel Amud Aleph and Meseches Megillah. This is Megillah Daf 3a. And the previous summer of Yirmiyah said that Menatzbach Tzofim Amorim, meaning the Nevi'im, they're the ones that instituted this idea of having a mem and a mem sophis, a nun and a nun sophis, etc. So the Gemara is in the middle of asking two questions on this idea. Number one, there's an idea of Eila HaMitzvos, that a Navi can't say a new Chiddush. Everything has to be from the times of the Torah. So therefore, how could it be that the Nevi'im, they instituted Menatzbach? And the second question is that Rav Chisda said that the mem and the samech and the luchos, that's the mem and the samech that were carved into the luchos, b'nei sayuomdin, that was a miracle that they were able to be carved in, because by the mem and the samech, those are completely circular letters, or totally enclosed letters, we should say. And so therefore, if you're going to carve it into the luchos through both sides of the luchos, so that middle piece is floating in midair. So that's got to be a miracle. Now, if Rav Chisda said that, it's clear that even at the time of the Luchos, there was such a thing as a mem sophis. So how could you say that it was invented at the times of the Nevi'im? Rashi over here says, "B'nei sayuomnin shahaisa chakikosan mishnei avrei," and again, it was carved out on both sides. Hilkach shar osios yeshlan makam davik. The rest of the letters, they had a way of attaching that middle part of the letter that was stone, could attach itself to something. But when it came to the mem and the samech, so that was floating in midair. That was the miracle. Now Rashi over here points out, now you could answer that Rav Chisda was talking about, let's say, the mem sophis that was from the times of Moshe Rabbeinu, and maybe when we say menatzbach, maybe it was not the mem sophis, but maybe it was the regular mem, the mem at the beginning of the word, that was invented in the times of the Nevi'im. That would answer the question. And this is clear in Perek Habona Meseches Shabbos. But rather, we're going to ask an idea, or we're going to go into an idea over here that's equal according to both opinions. The Mesorah Hashas says parik. It doesn't mean to say parich, ask. Ha-parik la-milsa the shavi la-tarvai. We're going to give an answer that works according to both ways of looking at the situation, meaning even if you're going to say it was the mem sophis that we're talking about, the mem sophis that the sophim were the ones that invented, so to speak, we're still going to be able to answer the question. And so the Gemara says, in yes, mahava havi. The Gemara answers, yes, the letters did exist at the time of Moshe Rabbeinu. What the idea was is that they didn't know which one goes in the middle of the word, and which one goes at the end, which one is the sophis, and which one is, so to speak, the regular letter. And that's what we were saying before. Rav Yirmiyah was saying that the Nevi'im came and they instituted psuchen be'emsa, the open letters, those are the ones that are in the middle of the word, be'emsa teva in the middle of the word, ustumen in the closed letters, let's say like the mem sophis, besof teva that goes at the end of the word. So that would answer the question. The letter did exist at the time of Moshe Rabbeinu, and all the Nevi'im did was they said where it goes. But the Gemara still doesn't like the answer. Sof, nevertheless, Eila ha-mitzvos she'ein navi asid l'chadish davar me'ata. It still says Eila ha-mitzvos. The Navi can't say something that's completely new, and this is completely new. The Navi is deciding where to put the various letters. And so the Gemara instead answers, Ela shacham v'chazru v'yistam. Rather, everything was instituted at the times of Moshe Rabbeinu. It must have been forgotten. And when Rav Yirmiyah said that the Nevi'im instituted it, it just means they reinstituted it after it was forgotten. So again, this is an answer that goes according to both. No matter how you have, whether it was the mem sophis, whether it was the regular mem, it doesn't make a difference. We can answer the question that it really was all present at the times of Moshe Rabbeinu, and it was forgotten and reinstituted by the Nevi'im. And the Gemara continues, V'yomer Rabbi Yirmiyah v'yiteimer Rabbi Chiya bar Abba, and Rabbi Yirmiyah said, this is another statement from Rabbi Yirmiyah, and some say Rabbi Chiya bar Abba, said as follows, Targum shel Torah, the translation that we have on the Torah, Unkel es Hager Amru mipi Rabbi Eliezer Rabbi Yoshua. Unkel es Hager is the one that made that translation based on the teachings of Rabbi Eliezer and Rabbi Yoshua. And Targum shel Nevi'im, the translation that we have on the Nevi'im, Yonasan ben Uziel Amru, that was a translation of Yonasan ben Uziel, mipi Chagai Zechariah Malachi, and it was based on the teachings of Chagai Zechariah Malachi. V'nizdaza Eretz Yisrael arba me'as parsa al arba me'as parsa, and at that time when they made this translation, Eretz Yisrael shook 400 parsa by 400 parsa. Yotzda Baskol v'yamra, and a Baskol came out and said, Mihu zeh shagila sisari livnei adam. Who's the one that revealed all of my secrets to the people? Amad Yonasan ben Uziel al raglav. So Yonasan ben Uziel stood up, v'yamra, and he said, Anihu shagilisi sisarecha livnei adam. I'm the one that revealed your secrets to people. Galoi v'yadu lefanecha. It is revealed and known before you. Shelo lechvodi asisi, that I did not do this for my honor. V'lo lechvod beis abba, I didn't do it for the honor of the house of my father. Elo lechvodcha asisi, rather I did it for your honor. Shelo yirbu machlokas b'Yisrael, that there should not be an increase of arguments among Klal Yisrael. That's why I made this particular translation. And the Gemara continues, Vod bikesh legalos targum shel ksuvim. He also wanted to reveal a translation for the ksuvim. Yotz the baskol v'yomer, but a baskol came out and said, v'yomerlo, and said to him, Dayecha, it's enough what you've done already. My time, and what's the reason? Why is it that it's not good to make a targum on the ksuvim? Mishum de'ispe kates Mashiach, because in the ksuvim we have revealed over there the end times of Mashiach, and it's not appropriate that that should be revealed. And the Gemara continues, V'targum shel Torah unkelos hager amru. Is it really true that the translation of the Torah was said by unkelos, the converts? V'omer Rav Ika bar Avin, Omer Rav Chananel Omer Rav. But Rav Ika bar Avin says, in the name of Rav Chananel, in the name of Rav, Mai dechsiv. What does the pasuk mean when it says Vayikru b'sefer Torah so Elokim? It says that they read in the Sefer Torah, and then the pasuk says Meforish v'som seichel v'yavinu b'mikra. It was explicit or clear. They had an understanding of the psukim. So what is that pasuk in Nehemiah? What does that pasuk mean? So the Gemara explains Vayikru b'sefer Torah so Elokim. When it says they read in the Sefer Torah zem mikra, that refers to the psukim that we find in the Chumash. Mefurish, when it says over there Mefurish that it was explained, zet targum, that refers to the targum, the translation. V'som seichel, and when it says that there was placed an understanding, elu hapsukin, that refers to the stops in the psukim, v'yavinu b'mikra, and they had an understanding, elu piskei taimim, that refers to what we call the trup, meaning the tune that is used when reading the psukim, v'yamri lo elu hamasoris, and some people say this refers to the masoris. The masoris refers to the various traditions we have in terms of how to write the text. And so the Gemara therefore is asking that the Targum is already mentioned in Nehemiah. So what does it mean over there when it says that Unkel Sager is the one that wrote the Targum? And so the Gemara says, Shachum v'chazru v'yistam. No, that's true. Again, there was a Targum very early on, but it was forgotten, and then it was reinstituted. That's what it means to say. It was reinstituted by Unkel Sager. And so the Gemara continues, Maishna doraisa delo is dasa. What's the difference that when they had the Targum on the Chumash, the doraisa, so the Eretz Yisrael didn't shake? The Nevi'ah is dasa, but when you had the Targum Yonasan on the Nevi'im, so Eretz Yisrael shook. And so the Gemara explains, doraisa mefarsha milsa. When it comes to the doraisa, the psukim are pretty clear on their own. However, the Gemara continues, the Nevi'ah ika mili de mefarshan, v'ika mili de mesasman. When it comes to the psukim in Nevi'im, some are clearly explained, but some are hidden. That's why it's a big deal that the Targum was revealed. Dechsiv, for example, there's a pasuk in Zechariah that again, the meaning of this pasuk is unclear. The pasuk says, Bayoma yigdal hamisped v'Yerushalayim. On that day, the eulogies in Yerushalayim will be great. Kemisped hadadrimon bebikas Megidon. Like the eulogy of Hadadrimon in Bikas Megidon. So the Gemara says, V'yam Rav Yosef, and Rav Yosef said on that pasuk, El mole targum adaikraf, not for the Targum on this pasuk, lo yadana mai kamer. I wouldn't know what this pasuk is talking about. And here's the Targum on that pasuk, B'yomahu, on that day, Yiskei mispeda b'Yerushalayim, ke mispeda d'Achav baromri. It's like the eulogy of Achav, the Katal Yosei Hadadrimon ben Tavrimon b'Ramos Gilad, that he was killed by Hadadrimon ben Tavrimon in Ramos Gilad. Uchamispeda d'Yoshia baromon, and it's like the hesped of Yoshia, the Katal Yosei Parochag Bevikas Megiddo. He was killed by Paro the Lame in Bikas Megiddo. So that's an example of a pasuk where we need the Targum in order to understand the pasuk. And the Gemara continues quoting a pasuk in Sefer Daniel, V'ra'isi ani Daniel levadi, and I, Daniel, I alone saw at Samara the vision. V'anoshim asher hayu imi lo ro es Samara. But the men who were with me, they couldn't see the vision. Aval charod gedola nafla aleim, but they got a great trembling fear that fell upon them. Vayivrechu behechave, and they fled and they hid. And so the Gemara says, Man ninu anoshim. Who are these men who did not see the vision, but they became afraid? Am Rabbi Yirmiyah v'itema Rabbi Chia bar Abba. So Rabbi Yirmiyah says, and some people say Rabbi Chia bar Abba says again, this is another comment by Rabbi Yirmiyah, and some say Rabbi Chia bar Abba. Zechagai, Zechariah, Malachi. The men over here referred to are Chagai, Zechariah, and Malachi. And the Gemara explains, Inu adifim minei, v'iyu adif minayu. In some ways, they were greater than Daniel. In some ways, Daniel was greater than them. Inu adifim minei, they were greater than him. The inu nevi'eh, v'iyu lav navi. They're prophets, and he wasn't a prophet. That's how they were greater than him. Iyu adif minayu, but he was also greater than them. The iyu chaza, because he was able to see the vision. V'inu lo chazi, and they could not see the vision. So the Gemara says, V'chim yachad lo chazu, but if they couldn't see the vision, my time may visu, why did they become afraid? So the Gemara says, Afagav the inu lo chazu, even though they didn't see it, mazalayu chazu. Their mazel was able to see the vision. And Rashi says, Mazalayu, what does it mean their mazel could see the vision? Sar shel koladim lamala, there's a ministering angel up above corresponding to every individual, and their mazel again was able to see the vision. And the Gemara continues, Amar Ravina says, Shma mino, you see from this, Haiman de mivis, that if somebody's afraid, Afagav de iu lo chazi, even though he didn't see that which he's afraid of, Mazol chazi, his mazel may have seen that particular issue, and that's why he's afraid. And the Gemara says, "My takante, what's the way to fix the situation? There's obviously something to be afraid of." So the Gemara says, "Likri Kriya Shema." If he reads Kriya Shema, that will protect him. Now, if the person is in an area that's dirty, he can't say Kriya Shema. So linshuf miduchte arba garmidi, he should move away from the spot he is 4 amos. V'ilo, and if he can't do that, leimahachi, he should say the following: Iza deveitavchi shmeina minoi. The goat of the slaughterhouse is fatter than me, and the idea is if something bad should happen, let it happen to the goat, it shouldn't happen to me. And the Gemara continues at the 2 dots, V'hashta diamrit medino medino v'ir l'drasha. Now that you said in the previous Amud, that the pasuk when it says Medina, and ir v'ir, it's for a drasha, that was the drasha we said before, talking about a city that's nearby or within view of a walled city. So mishpachu l'mayasa, the pasuk also says mishpacha, families and families. So what drasha is that for? And so the Gemara says, Amar Rabbi Yossi bar Chanina, Rabbi Yossi bar Chanina says, Lavi mishpachos kahuna u'levia. What we mean to include over here is even families of Kohanim and families of Leviim, shemevadlin avodasan uvoin l'shmoa mikra Megillah. They should sit idle in terms of their avoda. They should not do their avoda, their work, and rather they should come and they should hear the reading of the Megillah. Diyomer Rav Yehuda Marab, because Rav Yehuda said in the name of Rav, Kohanim b'avodasan, Kohanim when they're serving the Beis HaMikdash, u'Leviim b'duchanan, and Leviim again when they also serve in the Beis HaMikdash, when they're on their duchan, on the platform. V'Yisrael b'ma'amadan, and Yisrael also, the Yisraelim also, they're appointed to be the representatives over the Karbanos, they're part of the Maimid. Kulon mevadlin avodas, and all of them should stop their work, uvoin l'shmoa mikra Megillah, and they should come to hear the Megillah. And the Gemara continues, Tanya Nam Yachi, we have a brayso like this as well, Kohanim b'avodasan u'Leviim b'duchanan, Yisrael b'ma'amadan, the Kohanim in their avoda, the Leviim in the duchan, the Yisrael in their maimid, Kulon mevatlan avodasan, they're all mevatal their avoda, u'boin l'shmoa mikra Megillah, and they come to hear the reading of the Megillah. Mikan samchu shel beis Rebbe, shemevatlan Talmud Torah, u'voin l'shmoa mikra Megillah. And from here, they said in the house of Rebbe, they understood that you should be mevatel Talmud Torah in order to come here Mikra Megillah. Kal v'chomer me'avoda, that should be a kal v'chomer from the fact that you stop the avoda in the Beis HaMikdash. Uma avoda shichamura mevatlinan. If when it comes to the avoda in the Beis HaMikdash, we're just strict, we stop that in order to hear the Megillah. Talmud Torah lo kal shekain, certainly when it comes to the learning of Torah, we should stop that in order to hear the Megillah. Gemara says, is that really the case? Ve'avoda chamura mi Talmud Torah. Is it really true that the service in the Beis HaMikdash is considered more strict than Talmud Torah? V'aksib, but the pasuk says, Vayhi biyos Yoshua b'Yericho. It says that when Yoshua was in Yericho, Vayisa ina vayar v'neish omi lenegdo. It says he saw a man opposite him. Vayishtachu le'apav, he bowed to the individual. So the Gemara says, how is it possible that he did this? V'yomer Rabbi Yoshua ben Levi, but Rabbi Yoshua ben Levi said, Asr la'adam shita and shalom l'chavero b'layla. It's also for a person to say hello, to give greetings to his friend at night. Chashinon shem sheidu, because we have a concern, maybe that's not really his chaver, maybe that's actually a shade, maybe that's actually a demon. So the Gemara says, Shani Hasam, it's different over there, Do Amar Le, because he said to him, Ki ani sar tzva Hashem. I am the officer, the angel of Hashem. That's why he knew it wasn't a shade. Gemara says, V'dilma meshakri. Maybe this individual or maybe this being was lying. So the Gemara says, no, Gemiri de lo mifki shem shamayim levatola. It's known that they wouldn't do the shem shamayim, they wouldn't lie and use the name of Hashem in vain. So it can't be that it was a shade. And in any case, the Gemara now explains what was going on over there with Yoshua. Amar lo, he said to him, Emesh bitaltem tamid shel ben arbayim. Yesterday, you didn't bring the carbon tamid of the evening. V'achshav bitaltem Talmud Torah. And now he tells Yoshua, now you're not learning Torah. So Amar lo, so Yoshua said back to the angel, Al eza mehen bas. Well, which one of those two things are you coming about? Which is the real concern? The fact we didn't bring the carbon tamid, or the fact that we didn't learn Torah? Amar lo ata bas, he said, now is what I'm coming for. I'm coming for the issue of Talmud Torah. That's the point of the Gemara here, to say Talmud Torah seems more important than Avoda in the Beis HaMikdash. Miyad vayolan Yoshua balayla hu besocha emek. Immediately the next pasuk, Yoshua slept inside of the valley. Amar Rabbi Yochanan, and Rabbi Yochanan says, and Rashi over here explains, Emesh bitaltem b'tshuva sheishivu ata basi anu lemeidin tchilas divrei HaMalach. We're going to see the answers, I'm coming now, so we can understand the whole conversation from there. Hashiman b'shnei devarim. The Malach is saying that they're guilty of two things. Emesh kilomar k'sheherev hayom hoyo lechem lahakrev tamar erev. First, the angel is saying, yesterday when it became evening, you should have brought the carbon tamid. Uvitaltem oso, and instead you didn't. V'nishteisa b'ma'ariv ho'ir chinam, and instead you delayed and you stayed in ambush. You laid an ambush for the city. It was for no reason. Shein zman milchama b'layla mishatech. It wasn't the time for war at that time. So you're preparing for war. You're laying an ambush when you should have been bringing the carbon. V'achshav shu layla, now that it's also night, hayu lachem la'asuk b'Torah. You should learn Torah. Sharei inchem nilchamim b'layla. Again, you're not fighting at night. So the angel is accusing them of these two things. Atabasi al shalachshav. Well, what are you coming for? I'm coming for the nullification of learning Torah. Again, apparently, the learning Torah is more important than the avoda. Miyad vayolin Yoshua b'laylo b'socha emek. So then it says that Yoshua laid that night in the emek, in the valley, lo ba'osu alayla ksivela b'layla shetzar al ha'ayin. Now that pasuk is actually not written on that particular night. It's actually written about the night when they put a siege on the city of Ai. But here's what it means. Miyad chazer Yoshua midvarav. Yoshua therefore realized he had to do teshuvah. When there was another night, which was similar b'matzah, where they were laying siege, so asik b'Torah. He learned his lesson, and he learned Torah that night. And we'll continue with this discussion in the next video on Daf Gimel Amud Beis.